The Department of Corrections and the state legislature are continuing conversations on the conditions in Wisconsin prisons as state officials held two meetings earlier today.
The DOC released its report to review how modified movement restrictions have impacted daily operations to help the DOC improve safety measures. Our political reporter Darielle Fair has the latest.
Brandon Amber, the Department of Corrections Committee on Inmate and Youth Deaths met to provide a progress report on efforts to expand programming and address staffing shortages across the state's prisons. The Assembly Committee on Corrections also met today to hear public testimony from the families of those incarcerated and current and former employees who have worked for the DOC. The Legislative Committee wrapping up its hearing less than 2 hours ago. Both meetings follow the Dodge County Sheriff's investigation into 4 inmates' deaths that took place at Waupun Correctional Institution between June 2023 and February of this year. Waupun Correctional and Green Bay Correctional Institutions have been under lockdown restrictions for nearly 15 months. Families of those incarcerated growing concerned with their well-being as staffing shortages and limited mental health care contribute to a poor quality of life for inmates. The DOC confirmed in its report it has implemented changes to the number of mental wellness checks required and increased oversight of medication distribution. The DOC has also implemented a new restrictive housing policy that went into effect on May 13th. The policy limits how much time inmates can spend in solitary confinement and requires an assistant administrator to sign off on disciplinary requests of more than 120 days.
I was so grateful for the hearing today. It was by invite only. I think we would have had an even better discussion if we had invited more folks from the actual public to come. But I was glad that we could finally talk about the need for those specific pieces of legislation. I just hope that they can finally get hearings. The Republicans can call in a special session at any point, and I would love to have one that specifically addressed conditions of confinement, both at Waupun and Green Bay and MSDF and all of the prisons across the state.
When asked if lawmakers plan to introduce legislation to address conditions in the state's prisons, Representative Ryan Clancy highlighted a package of proposals Democratic lawmakers introduced in November setting standards for solitary confinement, personal hygiene, and visitation hours, among other things.